Hello, I'm Attorney Todd Leneve, and welcome to West Virginia Gun Law. Today, we're going to talk about Second Amendment rights during a declared state of emergency. Stick around. So I'm periodically asked about firearms rights during a declared state of emergency or a natural disaster event. I thought that it was probably worth taking time to put together a video to help explain the topic a little bit more in detail. Whether it's a natural occurrence such as a wildfire, a hurricane, an earthquake, or whether it's a man-made occurrence, some kind of rioting or other civil unrest, understanding what your Second Amendment rights are during those periods is really an important thing to know. So right now, most of the eyes of the world are turned on the southern border of Texas, where we see the governor has taken radical steps to stop the unprecedented flow of illegal immigration into this country that has occurred over the last 3 years. While he's doing that, 25 other governors have pledged their support to Texas's efforts, all while our United States government is taking Texas to federal court, seeking to get federal court rulings that say Texas has to abandon its effort to protect the border, reopen the border, and allow this immigration to continue. Obviously, we can see sides shaping up on the topic, and that scenario itself is scary and one that certainly creates some uncertainty for all of us, no matter which side we find ourselves standing on. So again, understanding what can and can't be done to our gun rights during times of emergency is imperative. Fortunately, we do have some guidance that helps from both the federal level and at the state level. Back in 2005, Hurricane Katrina ripped through the southern United States and left a huge path of devastation, particularly in the state of Louisiana. Thousands of people were left stranded for extended periods of time with no support with services, public utilities, law enforcement protection, anything like that. And as a result, there were roving gangs that were going around looting, stealing, robbing, taking full advantage of the lack of a police presence to prey on the people who didn't have any means to protect themselves. Amazingly, the Louisiana governor during that time ordered the confiscation of firearms from private individuals. Well, as a result, Congress in 2006 took up federal legislation to protect against that ever happening again. And in 2007, the Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act went into effect. Under the provisions of that act, no federal agency and no actor, an actor is a legal term for somebody who's employed by an agency or is acting on behalf of that agency, carrying out its function. So no federal agency or other federal actor would be permitted to infringe on Second Amendment rights during a time of declared emergency. The act is fairly long, but we'll take a look at a few critical provisions so that you can understand what Congress said could and could not happen during declared states of emergency or natural disasters. No officer or employee of the United States, including any member of the Uniformed Services, or person operating pursuant to or under the color of federal law, or receiving federal funds, or under control of any federal official, or providing services to such an officer, employee, or other person while acting in support of relief from a major disaster or emergency may temporarily or permanently seize or authorize seizure of any firearm, the possession of which is not prohibited under federal, state, or local law, other than for forfeiture in compliance with federal law or as evidence in a criminal investigation. Require registration of any firearm for which registration is not required by federal, state, or local law. Prohibit possession of any firearm or promulgate any rule, regulation, or order prohibiting possession of any firearm in any place or by any person where such possession is not otherwise prohibited by federal, state, or local law. Prohibit the carrying of firearms by any person otherwise authorized to carry firearms under federal, state, or local law, solely because such person is operating under the direction, control, or supervision of a federal agency in support of relief from the major disaster or emergency. Nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit any person in subsection A from requiring the temporary surrender of a firearm as a condition for entry into any mode of transportation used for rescue or evacuation during a major disaster or emergency, provided that such temporarily surrendered firearm is returned at the completion of such rescue or evacuation. So the key takeaway here is that no federal agent or agency has the ability to alter firearms rights during a declared emergency or natural disaster beyond the limitations that may already exist in law. For example, you can't carry firearms in certain federal properties, in school zones, and those kinds of protections remain in place even though the disaster declaration may limit federal actors from taking other action against your Second Amendment rights. In the event that one of these agencies or its employee would take action that violated the Second Amendment rights of a citizen during one of these times, the law also allows that person to then file a civil lawsuit in the appropriate federal court seeking monetary damages or other forms of legal relief that will compensate them for the violation of law that occurred. It also includes the ability to recover attorney's fees so that the person isn't actually out of pocket for anything in the event that they prevail in their case. So West Virginia's law goes a little bit farther and also extends that protection to firearms-related businesses, making it clear that no government agency is permitted to close or require evacuation of a firearms-related business unless that business is located inside a disaster area and safety needs demand that the place be closed or evacuated. However, at the conclusion of the emergency or disaster, those businesses can no longer be closed down or evacuated at the order of a government official. Interestingly, we also expand our law here in West Virginia to not just include firearms, but to also include ammunition, firearms components, reloading equipment and reloading supplies, and even any other lawful weapon used for personal protection. So those of you who like to carry a long sword as your backup, feel free to get your medieval on and know that you're protected as well. Similar to the federal law, West Virginia also provides a means for citizens to file a civil lawsuit seeking damages and other remedies in the event that their rights are violated during an emergency or a natural disaster. We have a federal law that protects across the board, and we have about 40 states in the U.S. that also have a law of their own that protects citizens similar to the way West Virginia does. However, there are a number of states that do not have any protections in place, or even worse, authorize their governor to order the confiscation or registration of firearms during a declared emergency. And a list of those states is down below on the screen here. If you find that one of those is your state and you have questions about this topic, I encourage you, please go find a qualified Second Amendment attorney in your state and talk to them so that you understand the scope of your rights and what the government can and cannot do to you in one of these times. In spite of the efforts going on around the country right now in various places to restrict or altogether ban your right to have certain firearms or components, know that during times of disaster, the laws of the majority of this country do protect you and your Second Amendment rights. If you have any questions about this topic, which can get a little bit confusing, feel free to get in touch with us and I'll be happy to help you out. Our contact information is available through our website, which is linked in the description below, and you can reach out to us through that by phone or by email. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the like button on the video, share it with your friends so that we can get this information out there and we can make sure that topics related to the Second Amendment don't get suppressed any more than they already are. I appreciate you stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.